Ladies and gentlemen, live from a field in the middle of nowhere in Ireland, this is the Out There Hour with Basil and Mark.
The Out There Hour on Alternative Future Radio. The Out There Hour with Basil and Mark.
Yes, said that.
www.alternativefutureradio.com.
Yay! Well, hello. Here we are again. Hello, Basil.
Good morning, Mark. How are you this morning?
I'm sounding pretty good. Not as good as you with your fancy radio voice, but, you know, what else can I do?
Can't be helped.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are we going to start with today? I believe you've got some sort of event information coming up or something like that?
Yeah, a few things happened yesterday. Yesterday was a big day. Ben Gilroy presented a case challenging the bailout to the High Court at 2 p.m.
Right.
It was to stop the Anglo debt payment due on the 31st of March.
Okay.
Okay, and this is the amount here. There's so many zeros in it, I can't read it.
That is a big number.
What is that?
Let me see, it's a million. 3.1 billion, I think that is.
3.1 billion.
I think that's 3.1 billion, yeah.
Well, he's challenging the payment, which is rather admirable. And
yes.
I think they've accepted the papers in the High Court, which is fantastic.
What have they then done with them, though?
It's a statement from the public to the government.
Yes.
I think it's always worthy to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a great believer in emailing TDs and ministers and letting them know how you feel.
Yes. Well, I mean, I am also in favour of emailing them, primarily just to waste their time.
Yes. And yours.
Yours. Yeah, but
my
time's free, and at least I'm admitting that I'm not doing anything every day.
And loath as I am to mention another radio station.
Oh my God, there are others.
I'm surprised by that. Apparently there is. There's
right.
one in County Wexford, Southeast Radio.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of them. They're in a shed somewhere, I think.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And my good friend Jessica Dubois was on last night, and she was debating fluoride in the water supply.
Yep.
I'm assuming everybody knows about fluoride.
I would assume so at this stage, although I'm sure we're going to get somebody on to talk about it in great detail at some stage.
Yes, well, the fluoride was introduced in the 60s for the dental health.
1965, I think it was.
65, and there's a mounting evidence that it's actually a toxin and could be very, very bad for you.
Yes, it's not great.
It's not great, and so that's what that was about. And also, the problem with fluoride is, although you can lobby your local council for them to have it taken out, but unfortunately, it's mandatory.
Yes.
For the entire country.
Yeah, there's a statute for the whole country, isn't there?
Statute.
Yeah.
So we've attempted to go to the EU, to Brussels. No joy there. So we're going to have to work within Ireland.
Yeah.
I'll be getting into more details about that later on anyway.
Fair enough.
Over to you, Mark.
Is that the end of your event information? No other events there?
Well, I did attend an event on Saturday.
Oh, right, yes.
The Awaken Dublin presentation.
Yes. Did you have fun there?
I did have fun. It was great. That was the one you were meant to meet me on the bus with the cameras and the recording equipment, and you let me go up on my own.
That's the one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, with your notepad, yeah. Exactly, yeah. That's the kind of thing I do. That's who I am. That's what I do.
That's right. That's why we know. That's why we love you.
Yeah, you're banging your mic there.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just looking for the. There was I think it was about 5 speakers. They gave their time free.
Right. Yeah.
There was no political motivation. There was no financial gain.
Yeah.
It was in the Hampton Court Hotel.
Yeah.
And yes, I think the first one would have been somebody who's coming on later on. Hopefully, Paul Byrne.
Lovely. We've got him lined up to come on, hopefully, as long as he can stay there.
Yeah, he gave a talk on alternative energy.
Yeah.
And next up, I think, was Barry Kavanagh on debt and how to deal with it, how to deal with the banks.
It's national debt rather than personal debt.
Personal debt.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is very important. A lot of people are in trouble at the moment.
Yeah.
And next, of course, was Martha Brazel and Aisling Fitzgibbons of Tralee with their presentation on fluoride and the dangers of.
Yeah.
And finally, I think it was James O'Sullivan challenging and Paul O'Shea challenging the legality of the household tax.
Right. So you must have been there a good while then. There must have been a fairly long event,
about
wasn't it?
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. Oh, not massively long presentations then, because there are some of them that can go on for 3 hours just for one presentation.
They're
It's
not
manageable, though. I
They're not
suppose.
trying to exhaust anybody either. You know, they try and get to the point very quickly. But
Yeah.
it's earnest. and
It's not like a David Icke presentation where, hang on, where it goes on for like 9 hours or 12 hours.
Well, that's value for money.
Well, it is. I suppose it is value for money. I suppose you do get a lot for your 40 quid or whatever they charge for a.
How are we doing for
a David
time
Icke
there,
one.
Mark?
Well, guess what? We're only 10 minutes into it there. We've got plenty of time. The first guest that we've got coming on, I would say, is going to be Paul Byrne to talk about his low energy nuclear reactor idea. Well, I wouldn't say it's his idea, but it's an idea that he's currently plugging, and he's going to talk about that.
Yes, well, it's a device to power and heat your home.
Mm-hmm.
It runs on nickel.
Nickel and hydrogen, I think.
Nickel and hydrogen.
Memory serves.
The nickel should cost you about €100 a year.
Yep. And I'm assuming they're extracting the hydrogen from tap water or something.
You'd have to ask Paul about that. But
We will.
There's a marketable working model in Greece at the moment.
Yes.
And there's tenders out at about 40 million, if you have 40 million to spare.
Yes, which I haven't.
And this will negate the need for oil, coal, gas.
Yes. Yeah, really? Yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah,
I hope
yeah,
so.
Right, okay.
I think what was the company? Defcalion.
Yes.
It's actually it's called a low energy nuclear device, or no, low energy nuclear reaction. Sorry,
Yes.
not cold fusion. I was going.
No, I believe that is actually the same thing.
Yeah.
I read a little bit about it in my great detailed research. And well, I'll let Paul talk about that because I'm sure he'll go into it with a lot more detail and convincing expertise than me.
Or me, for that matter.
Exactly. So, okay, what are we going to do first? Are we going to have a little bit of a song, and then we'll come back and we'll see if we can get Paul Byrne on the line?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, everybody. Right, the first song today is a fantastic piece of music. It's called Take Your Pants Off by a group called Hug, and I can well recommend that as a course of action. Right.
Por favor, mi amor.
The answer.
That was Hug and Take Your Pants Off, and all things being equal, we should have Paul Byrne on the line. Do we have you there, Paul?
Hey, how you doing, Mark?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. So, Paul is wanting to talk today about now, get it right?
Low energy nuclear reaction.
Lovely. So, Paul, first questions
Yep.
first. What are you on about? What is all this? What's going on?
Okay, low energy nuclear reactions is a thing that's getting a lot more attention than it has been getting
Yeah.
in previous years. This year, it seems to be a new energy source with the power to power our lives, basically, and replace the ways we're currently generating power, which are across the board dirty and polluting and
Yes.
expensive.
Okay.
So it's a new energy source, which is a new type of nuclear reaction that's it doesn't generate any waste or any radioactivity,
Right.
and it seems to be becoming commercially available this year.
Okay. Yeah. And so what's inside this thing? What I mean is it like a nuclear power station? Is it, or is it big? Is it small? Or what goes on? What goes into it? Do you know?
Well, what it is like, as you probably know, the current way of generating nuclear power is nuclear fission, where you
Yep.
split atoms, and you need a huge big nuclear power plant. It's
Yeah.
very expensive, and it's very complicated, and prone to error and dangerous, and nobody likes them really,
Yeah.
for good reason, because they shouldn't be built. You can see what happened to Fukushima. It's proof positive that we shouldn't use
I
these
wouldn't live
things.
beside one. Let's put it that way.
No.
Yeah. Or on the same continent, preferably,
Exactly,
the same
yeah.
planet. But this L.E.N.R, the acronym stands for Low Energy Nuclear Reaction.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you get a low energy out of it. It means that the energy to initiate the reaction is low. So what it is there's a few people working on this technology. There's actually quite a lot of people working on it, and they have been for years. But one guy came to prominence in particular last year, an Italian guy called Rossi, and another company as well, a Greek company, have come to be in the spotlight. And both of these people claim to have a device that's about 55 cent. It's essentially a box, the finished product, 55 by 45 by 42 centimeters. So it's about the size of a carry-on luggage suitcase on a Ryanair flight.
Mm-hmm.
And what's inside it is a little reactor chamber that's the size of a big nut. It's about 50 cc.
Yeah.
So, smaller than a golf ball, that type of size.
Yes.
And in there, in that little chamber, is powdered nickel, the metal nickel.
Yeah.
And the chamber is pressurized with hydrogen gas.
Yeah.
And that is then heated up by an electrical heating element
Okay. Yeah.
to I think it's a couple of 100 degrees Celsius. I get the exact figure here now.
Yeah.
And when it gets up to that heat, a reaction is initiated where the nickel and the hydrogen they interact. The hydrogen sheds neutrons to the nickel, and
Right.
you get a new element just in a small amount and a huge amount of heat.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing generates heat. So the heat's then captured in the form of steam, and that's the power output you get from it. So essentially, you have a little box that you plug in, and it generates a lot of steam.
Okay.
And you can use the steam then. The way you would harness that is then you would use some sort of cycle, like a little miniature or a mini turbine.
Yeah. Much
Be
the same
driven
way
by
as
the
power
steam.
stations use steam to power them today, the coal-fired power stations.
Exact same thing. You just scale it down to be smaller
Yeah.
and generate electricity. And then with the heat that comes after out of the turbine, you still have you still have heat coming out after you've generated electricity.
Yeah.
You would use that to power the heating system of your house or whatever
Yes.
building you're in.
Yeah. Use the byproduct.
Yeah.
Paul, it's Basil here. When you say
Hey, Basil.
powdered nickel, roughly how much would that cost to buy?
And can you buy it?
Yeah.
Well, it seems to be that nickel and hydrogen are two of the most common elements. There's a lot of nickel apparently in the world. It's quite a common element.
Yeah, there's
nickel-
it's in my belt buckle at the moment. I'm allergic to it, so I'm like a nickel
A nickel detector.
nickel detector. Sorry.
A nickel detector. Well, we'll take you out for a few walks around the countryside, Basil, and we'll see where can we find you.
Oh, great! I've got a job.
Yeah. Like a divining Basil.
Yeah, so I'd say that there's no real shortage of nickel. Surely, I mean it's in everything. I know that because I keep getting rashes from
It's
it.
very cheap, so there must be lots of it.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of nickel. I mean, we've been given presentations lately, and I've been given this presentation. And one of the questions which comes up, which is just exactly right to come up, is what about nickel? Can somebody, if this is true, can somebody monopolize the nickel?
Yeah.
And you can't say for sure that somebody won't, but it seems to be that nickel is quite common. For one thing, most money is made from nickel.
That's true. Do you know, just by out of interest, where are the world's nickel deposits? Is it spread across the globe, or is it in any one country more than anything else?
I don't have the answer to that because I just haven't got that far in,
Yeah.
in researching
It's
yet.
got to be
But it's something I
incredibly
have to look up shortly. But I
abundant,
do know that
Mark.
there's large deposits
Yeah.
of it in Greece.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's pretty common. There's probably a lot of it in Australia.
cow, it's
The
everywhere.
only reason why I ask is that the active element in turbines is neodymium magnets, of which China has about 65% of the world's supply.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but-
that's a problem. Neodymium is a rare earth metal, so
Yeah,
Well, it's
you
not
know
that.
somebody
it's
can
nickel.
corner that market.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible to think that 100 euros worth of nickel could power the house for the entire year.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to get to the figure on it there.
Yeah.
What's been stated by the companies bringing this technology out is that the fuel will cost less than $100 a year, which is very, very cheap. I mean, it's so cheap you could disregard it. Like, you know?
And where does the hydrogen come from?
Well, hydrogen, you can buy hydrogen from gas suppliers. You can make hydrogen by electrolysis.
Yeah,
If you break it down, everything around us comes from hydrogen. In the start off, it's probably the most common element.
yeah.
Like a basic element that other elements are made from.
You had some
Yeah,
questions.
hydrogen from
Sorry.
electrolysis mostly.
Yeah. You had some questions about the power in and the power out.
Yeah, I'm just sticking with the hydrogen just for 1 second more. The reactor gadget thing that's been invented, does that take a gas hydrogen, or is it actually creating its own hydrogen via electrolysis? I saw a picture of it. It looked like it had a water valve on it, but that may have been for the heating you were talking about.
Yeah, it uses bottled hydrogen.
Right. So it's taking it in as a gas.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we were just wondering, the output from this reactor, what kind of output can you expect, and sort of how many kilowatts go in and how many kilowatts come out?
Well, according to the spec sheet, there's a company, L.E.N.R Green Technologies in Greece, and they seem to be the ones who are going to get to the market first with this. And from their spec sheet that's on their website of the device, I'll just pull up the thing now. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
Okay, so this is straight off their spec sheet. So they said the coefficient of power is better than 1 to 25. So that's output power 25 times input power. And the figures on it are the maximum electrical consumption per hour in the on mode when it's turned on is less than 200 watts.
Right.
The output range is 5 to 11 kilowatts.
Right. Yeah.
So what you have there is you plug it in. There's a heating element to bring the reaction chamber up, so that uses less than 200 watts. And then the output power that you get is 5 to 11 kilowatts.
This might sound like a stupid question, but where does the 200 watts to start it come from if it's not already started?
Yeah, well, when you started off, so say you're starting off from cold. This again is another question everyone asks at the presentation, and it's the right logical question to ask. When you have to plug it in to start, you have to have some external power source to start it. Okay, so you bring that power is used to bring the chamber up to a certain temperature, after which or at what point the reaction starts. So when you start the reaction, then you're getting a massive amount, better than 25 times more output power.
Yeah.
So what you would do is basically, if I had one here now delivered, the way I would set it up is start it off the mains, get it up and going, and get it generating electricity.
Yeah.
And have a bank of batteries that you just charge to have your like a battery booster pack for your car. You know.
Can I suggest another alternative idea? I just came up with it. Maybe if somebody's thought of it before. If you actually fed your device back into the mains, you could start yours up off somebody else's, which is already running.
Well, you see, you could do that as well. Yeah, like if these things got used, if these things were to be implemented and installed widespread in Ireland, you could have little local startup networks like that, between 2 or 3 or 10 houses or whatever, and even you could set up a system that you and your neighbours wouldn't all have to have your devices on at the same time. Things like this, you know. Absolutely, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Shows the potential of this thing. If we were able to get these, you could do away with the main supply within a week. You know.
Yeah.
Once everybody gets up and running.
I only have one other question. Is what about? Now, I'm no physicist, but what about thermodynamics? Does this thing work within the boundaries of thermodynamics, or is this breaking the rules of thermodynamics? Because it seems that you're getting more out than you're putting in.
No, it's not. It's not breaking the rules of it because if you look at any energy source, really, like there's a misnomer really with the word free and free energy.
Yeah.
They should really just call it cheap.
Yes.
The laws of thermodynamics say you can't get anything for free, and that's true. But like if you like a nuclear fission reaction in a power station is free, but you
Yeah.
have to build a power station to harness it.
Yes.
And oil is free, but you have to go get the oil. So you get once you initiate the process that ignites these fuels, and whichever fuel they are, you're getting a lot of energy out, but it's not free. You know, you have to set up the conditions. So this is a new source that has just been discovered. You know, it's the same as discovering fission back 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You're getting a huge amount of heat generated because it's a nuclear reaction.
Yeah.
So it seems to be too good to be true, you know?
Yeah. No, my thought would be that if you take, say, for example, a lump of coal, to make it simple, or a litre of oil, there would be, whatever, I'm not sure how many, say 10,000 calories or something in a litre of oil. As far as I'm aware, you can't get more than 10,000 calories out of that oil, no matter what you do with it, under what I learnt at school anyway. But I'm thinking if you put in hydrogen, I'm not sure what calories are in hydrogen, to be honest, and nickel, I mean, how many calories are in those things versus how much you get out? Because I was always told that you couldn't get more out than was originally in the raw materials.
Yeah, but you're not burning them, though. That's the thing. You're fusing them together.
Yeah.
It's a nuclear reaction, so calories and things, as far as my understanding of it, is if you're burning something, you burn calories, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're combusting them, but this is fusion. It's a nuclear, it's a different type of process to get the energy to harness, to release energy from the fuels, you know?
Yeah, and they're doing that by pushing the hydrogen. What did you say? At high pressure into the nickel. I think that's what you said, was it?
Yeah, they're pressurizing the chamber where the nickel is with
Yeah.
hydrogen gas, and as far as my understanding of it goes, they have a theory called the Witham-Larson theory, and it's to do with weak interactions. What they're saying is happening, and like I said, there's multiple researchers in a lot of different countries working on this. They're saying that because hydrogen and nickel are close to each other atomically, the hydrogen or the nickel gains neutrons from the hydrogen.
Yeah.
And what's actually happening is a transmutation. The nickel and hydrogen combined are turning into a small amount of copper.
Yes.
So you're getting a transmutation like the alchemists used to claim to get, you know?
Yes.
But this is what's actually happening in these devices.
And I suppose the big question that I would have is, have you or has anybody verified that this thing works? Because I think there's been more than one of these types of ideas over the years, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's been, sorry, to answer the first part of the question is no. I'd love to actually go and eyeball one of these things and see does it work.
Yeah.
So there is always the element of, is this true? It hasn't been 100% proved yet. But from what I've discovered in researching into it, that since the first claim of cold fusion in 1989 was rubbished, a lot of people have been continuing the research in the field.
Yeah, yeah.
In many different countries, and it's gaining acceptance now that there is something going on.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point. It's got to the point where at least two people are racing to get to the market with it.
Right,
And
right.
like the company I'm keeping my eye on mostly, a company from Greece, are currently in their last stage of testing with independent bodies.
Right.
So that looks pretty good. The results of that are going to be in the next few weeks. So we'll
Is
see
that
one way or the other.
L.E.N.R, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Or- and they're claiming that they have a working model and a marketable model.
I suppose we're going to find out soon enough then if they have.
With, I think the license, what did you say at the presentation in Awaken Dublin? Is it 40 million?
Yeah, what the L.E.N have is, as you say, Basil, they claim to have an almost market-ready product. They're going through EU safety procedures or certification procedures. They have it ready to go, it seems, and they have a rollout strategy, I suppose you could call it, where they want to get companies in different countries to manufacture these devices and distribute them under license the technology. And a license is they're pricing it at 40.5 million euros.
Yeah.
So the procedure then would be that whatever company or country, say, wanted to apply for and get a license, they would set up a factory under L.E.N.'s guidance, because they've written out and documented the specs and what's required for a factory to make these things. So you would be basically setting up a franchise operation.
Right.
And with the core technology coming from L.E.N.
My first thought about it wasn't that the BP were going to come in and buy the what were you saying, Mark? By the
rights, maybe.
By the rights or whatever. My first fear would have been that the EU would deem it as unsafe for use as a household appliance. And I think you mentioned at Awaken Dublin, Paul, that it falls under EU safety already. It's meant to be. It falls under the.
I suppose the good news is if they think it doesn't work, they're not going to ban it.
Well, it falls under the specs of a water pump. Is that right?
Really,
Paul?
Apparently, yes, that's it. I mean, I'm looking at, as I say, the spec sheet from L.E.N.'s website at the moment here, and under safety, they say safety according to EU Directive 949/EC. They've said, that because basically there's no harmful radiation that comes off it, and no waste and no emissions, and the result of what it produces is steam, then apparently it's fallen under classifications of water boilers.
Right.
Well, I must tell the Willie Nelson story here.
Go on.
Not the entire story, not the autobiography.
Not his life story.
No,
okay.
well, I could if you had 3 or 4 hours to spare.
No, please don't.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Willie Nelson tells this story, Paul, about when he was a child. He's 70-something now. You know, the country singer Willie Nelson.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said on the farm where he grew up, they used to use peanut butter oil to run the machinery, to run the tractors and that kind of thing. Well, the FBI came in and shut them down. They said it wasn't safe to use it. That was their excuse. And really what it was about, they weren't using oil. I think it's what it was about.
Ford, when he invented the car, he actually first ran it, if I remember correctly, on biodiesel.
Really?
And he was lobbied and paid handsomely to change his car to run on petrol. That could be an urban legend, but I believe it's true.
Well, if this device really works, there's a lot of opposition to it.
True enough. But who would buy it just to shelve it? I suppose they're going to buy it and keep the money.
BP would buy it to shelve it.
Well,
sorry, Paul?
Lots of companies who would buy it to shelve it.
Yeah.
There's a big list of people who would buy it to shelve it, really, isn't there?
There's been a lot of suppressed energy and...
Well, a lot of those companies have got deep pockets, so if they wanted to buy it, I think they would have bought it by now.
I think we'll agree to disagree on this one, Mark.
Okay.
Well, it depends on who's selling it, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose so. Yeah, maybe so. Right, okay, Paul. Well, thank you for calling in anyway, and we'll probably have you back on again later, if you another day, if you don't mind, and we'll get an update from you as to how things are proceeding. Do you have a website or any information for people?
There is a website. Awaken Ireland is in the process of putting a website up, so maybe when we don't have any content up on it yet, but that'll be awakenireland.ie. But that should be up running with some content in it over the next week or so. But if people are interested in L.E.N.R, there's a couple of websites that they could go to. One is PESN.com. That's PureEnergySystemNews.com.
Yep.
That's a site run by a number of scientists who are following the cheap energy story. Yeah. And they actually have a top 5 emerging energy systems list. In order of most likely to come to market, so that one's following the story close.
Well, we'll put links to that on the podcast for this interview as well. So, and any what have you got more? Did you say there?
Yeah, well, people could check out Defcalion's website. It's DEFKALION.com. Okay. And they can read the information that Defcalion have put up themselves. As I say, they seem to be the most likely company to come out with this.
Yeah,
and the more people who know that this is a possibility, the better. Because I mean, there's a lot of implications. The possibilities are basically limitless for a technology like this. What we can do to change our lives for the better with a technology like this is purely restricted by imagination only. Sky's the limit, you know.
Yeah. Go on, you've got one more question.
Oh,
Did
I
you say,
just
Basil,
wondered,
there?
it's slightly off topic, I just wondered what Paul thought about Ben Gilroy and his case challenging the bailout yesterday. Did you hear about that, Paul?
Yeah, I was actually there.
I thought you
Um,
might be, yeah.
yeah, it was. Yeah.
How'd it go, mate?
It's very good. I mean, it seems to. When I was heading up yesterday, I heard a report in the news that the case had been dismissed, and I was a bit
Oh, yeah.
downhearted. But it seems to be that that's a bit of disingenuous reporting in the media. It's in all the main papers there
Typical.
today.
Good turnout.
What
Yeah.
there was a good turnout. Yeah.
Yeah.
What seems to have happened is the guys went in to lodge their papers to get a court case, which they did. They also tried to apply for an injunction to stop the payment of the 3.1 billion bailout.
That's right.
And the judge says we have to give 2 weeks for the state to respond. If the state doesn't respond, the injunction will be granted by default. And if the state does respond, we'll hear what they say. So then we went around to the Dáil to serve papers on the Taoiseach's office, because Enda Kenny's in China. And Ben and his colleagues went into the Dáil to serve the Taoiseach's office, only to be told that normal people can't serve papers, which is false. Anybody can serve papers.
False, yeah.
So the Taoiseach's office wouldn't take it, so we all went round to the Attorney General's office, and the papers were accepted there, so it's filed in the court and the Attorney General's office. So we'll see what happens now. Fair play to Ben.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for the update on
Lovely.
that, because I had no
try and
information.
we may try and get Ben on, and maybe we'll get Paul back again and talk about something else.
Yeah, Paul, we'd love to talk to you again, and thanks so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on, guys.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, see you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody, now time for a little bit of music. Here is Mighty Sam McLean and Can You Stand the Test of Love? Detail at some stage?
Yes, well, the fluoride was introduced in the 60s for the dental health.
1965, I think it was.
65, and there's mounting evidence that it's actually a toxin and could be very, very bad for you.
Yes. It's not great.
It's not great, and so that's what that was about. And also, the problem with fluoride is, although you can lobby your local council for them to have it taken out, but unfortunately, it's mandatory.
Yes.
For the entire country.
Yeah, there's a statute for the whole country, isn't there?
Statute.
Yeah.
So we've attempted to go to the EU, to Brussels. No joy there. So we're going to have to work within Ireland.
Yeah.
I'll be getting into more details about that later on. Anyway.
Fair enough.
Over to you, Mark.
Is that the end of your event information? No other events there?
Well, I did attend an event on Saturday.
Oh right, yes. Pretty good. Not as good as you with your fancy radio voice, but you know, what else can I do?
Can't be helped.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are we going to start with today? I believe you've got some sort of event information coming up or something like that?
Yeah, a few things happened yesterday. Yesterday was a big day. Ben Gilroy presented a case challenging the bailout to the High Court at 2 p.m.
Right.
It was to stop the Anglo debt payment due on the 31st of March.
Okay.
Okay, and this is the amount here. There's so many zeros in it, I can't read it.
That is a big number.
What is that?
Let me see, it's a million. 3.1 billion, I think that is.
3.1 billion.
I think that's 3.1 billion, yeah.
Well, he's challenging the payment, which is rather admirable. And
yes.
I think they've accepted the papers in the High Court, which is fantastic.
What have they then done with Ladies and gentlemen, live from a field in the middle of nowhere in Ireland, this is the Out There Hour with Basil and Mark.
The Out There Hour on Alternative Future Radio. The Out There Hour with Basil and Mark.
Yes, at
www.alternativefutureradio.com.
Yay! Well, hello. Here we are again. Hello, Basil.
Good morning, Mark. How are you this morning?
I'm sounding pretty with them, though,
Well, it's a statement from the public to the government.
Yes.
I think it's always worthy to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a great believer in emailing TDs and ministers and letting them know how you feel.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm also in favour of emailing them, primarily just a waste of time.
Yes. And yours.
occupy
and
the
yours.
occupy.
And
Yeah,
yours a
but
lot of the time.
my time's free, and at least I'm admitting that I'm not doing anything every day.
And loath as I am to mention another radio station.
Oh my God, there are others.
I'm surprised by that. Apparently there is. There's
Oh, right.
one in County Wexford, Southeast Radio.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of them. They're in a shed somewhere, I think.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And my good friend Jessica Dubois
Mm-hmm.
was on last night, and she was debating fluoride in the water supply.
Yeah,
I'm assuming everybody knows about fluoride.
I would assume so at this stage, although I'm sure we're going to get somebody on to talk about it in great detail.
The Awaken Dublin presentation.
Yes, did you have fun there?
I did have fun. It was great. That was the one you were meant to meet me on the bus with the cameras and the
Yeah.
recording equipment, and you let me go up on my own.
That's the one, yeah,
With this.
yeah, with your notepad, yeah, exactly, yeah. That's,
Yeah, well,
that's the kind of thing I do. That's who I am. That's what I do.
That's right. That's why we know. That's why we love you.
Yeah, you're banging your mic there.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just looking for the. There was I think it was about 5 speakers.
Mm-hmm.
They gave their time free.
Right, yeah.
There was no political motivation. There was no financial gain.
Yeah.
It was in the Hampton Court Hotel,
Yeah.
and yes, I think the first one would have been somebody who's coming on later on. Hopefully, Paul Byrne.
Lovely. We've got him lined up to come on, hopefully,
He
as
gave
long
it-
as he can stay there.